Greens, here we are, Rugby Mates, but this time we've actually got some mates in the room as well. Give us a cheer, folks.
There's a lot on the line, as always, for all 6 teams. They're all in very different positions. For a lot of fans, it's the hope that kills you. Some are going to have some miserable 6 weeks. It looks like all roads lead to Paris in terms of the championship decider.
Talk about the Six Nations from your perspective.
The Six Nations is a great tournament, but there is only one thing that can define you as a great team.
Most valuable player as you see it in the England squad for this tournament.
The likelihood of Smith playing 50, 60 minutes and getting triple points is why he's my super sub in fantasy rugby.
I mean, I just love the bloke. Maybe it's because he's tiny. Greens, here we are, Rugby Mates, but this time we've actually got some mates in the room as well. Give us a cheer, folks. There they are.
All 12 family members of the Campo. So you have got an extended family as well. That's another podcast.
Here we are at Knead Pizza. I mean,
yeah,
this is some serious pizza, isn't it?
Strong. Beers and pizza. I grew up in Italy. Have I told you that? Have I bored you that before? 1973 to 1978. Honestly, my mum said we should never have come back. It was an incredible experience. And it's part of the reason I'm always slightly frustrated later on in my career. I never travelled. I only played rugby. I obviously went on tour. I only played rugby for an English club. I was asked to go to Ireland. I was asked to go to France at the back end of my career. There was talks about rugby league. But France and Ireland were always... if you have regrets at the end of a career, my non-travelling player, I've got so much respect for people like Jack Willis, Tom Willis, and the repercussions that they face on the back of going, but for going young and for going when they're fit and strong and healthy and experiencing life abroad. It's rugby gives you that opportunity, and it's an opportunity I missed.
Right, I hear you. And my question was just about the pizza, but I mean, amazing to get that depth early on. Greens, this podcast, there's loads of rugby podcasts out there. What's Rugby Mates? What's our USP? What's our difference?
I mean, probably here. I mean, back on. I know your dad's here.
Yeah.
My first 6 Nations, my first 5 Nations game was 1983. We met at the Bailey Arms, a pub in Hurst Green. Dad was coach, so Mike Taylor put a bus on, and 30 of us jumped on. I was 11 years old, and I can't remember much past Sandbach. Can't even remember the day. It was a totally inappropriate behaviour in those days, but the whole village went south, and it just became part of my rugby calendar. I remember after the game being on the back of the bus, people like Wade Dooley and Rob Andrew had his first cap. Just great English team from that vintage, and there was me as a skinny kid from Lancashire thinking this is just great. And rugby's been in part of my DNA. I talked about Italy, always followed my dad around on a touchline with mum and my sister. And I love some players finish and disappear, never want to see the sport again. Or some people have had circumstances that they look back on their career and they picked up injuries, or they've had niggles and it's not quite been what they wanted and it's let them down. And they've had health issues perhaps that they believe is down to rugby, and they walk away from the sport. I love my sport. I'll run around on a field with anyone who wants to throw a ball about. And if you want to talk about rugby and explore nuance and tactics and strategy, but back to you, what's our point of difference? I love detail. And I love getting into the detail of why selections are taking place, why particular players are overlooked, what might the coach be thinking, how they're trying to break down a team. And that was sort of that was my job in the teams I played, trying to find a point of weakness, trying to find a way to break things down. So I always look at it from that angle. So no detail is too fine for us to get into. I like to think we're pretty strong, or you watch a lot, but I'm pretty strong on the strengths and weaknesses of virtually every single player in all the 6 36-man squads. And it's an exciting time because there's a lot on the line, as always, for all 6 teams. They're all in very different positions as they come into this tournament. And For a lot of fans, it's the hope that kills you. Some are going to have some miserable 6 weeks. There's going to be some shocks and surprises, and some are going to have a great time. And at the back end of it, on March the 14th, which is a great innovation that's been in for a few years now, Super Saturday, it looks like all roads lead to Paris in terms of the championship decider between England and France, or France and England at 8 o'clock on that final evening. But there's 4 other teams who'll say, don't forget about us, like Donkey from Shrek.
Yeah, love that. So look, what we're going to do now is we're just going to give you the breakdown of the evening for the listeners as well, because if they listen to podcasts, anything like me, you can skip to the bit that you want to get to. So we're going to do a little dive into the Six Nations, why we think it's an amazing tournament. We're then going to look at each team individually. We're going to start with England, we're going to end with Wales, and we'll go through all 6 teams. I'm going to ask Will for an MVP in each and every team. So that is one player in the squad that we really feel can't go missing over the Six Nations if they're gonna do well. And we'll also look at a kind of rising star, a bit of a bolter in each team as well. So
back on the USP point, we're not quite in a pub, we're in a great pizzeria in Maidenhead. My aims and hopes in talking about rugby is, if you turn this podcast on for the first time, you could go and join any pub conversation talking about the Six Nations and pick up 2 or 3 little points that might just get you into the conversation. Then you're off and running.
Yeah, I love that. So look, let's get into the Six Nations itself. So my opinion is that it's the greatest rugby tournament in the world. And I would actually, in terms of my excitement, maybe it's because it happens every year, I take it above the World Cup almost. I just love it. And I know a lot of other people feel like that, but talk about the Six Nations from your perspective and why there's kind of an enduring fascination, I suppose, with the tournament.
The oldest rivalries are involved. The Celts en masse, hoping the English win the wooden spoon. The arrival of new teams. Everyone, Gen Z would imagine Italy have always played. Their first game was Stadio Flaminio 2000 against England. France only joined the tournament late. It used to be 4 nations. It's sort of layered over the years. It's nuanced in that most leagues have home and away. Most leagues, you sort of get the opportunity to invite people into your fortress, and then you have to head across the channel or over Hadrian's Wall and try and find a way to subdue the French or the Scots. But you don't get that in the Six Nations. So some years are nicer than others for certain countries. So England, if you're watching on the telly, if you know, they always play the Blues en masse, either home or away. This year, we are, of course, away to all the Blues. That's Scotland, Italy, France. And by not having this home and away, sometimes you might turn up as the best team in the world. And that's what Northern Hemisphere teams are starting to do more often, as teams have cracked that or taken that title occasionally away from the Southern Hemisphere. You might be the best team in the world, but you might have to go to Paris and Dublin. You might have to go to Paris and Twickenham. And so it's the subtleties of the tournament that are great. When is it in relation to the World Cup cycle? At this stage, with sort of a year and a half to go, you've seen, and we'll get onto the small detail, some teams have jettisoned their older players and have gone, if we don't try young blood now. So all the intricacies of trying to win, maintain the long-term vision of being competitive at the World Cup, at the same time bridge that with the ability of not disappointing your fans, because there's nothing more frustrating or removing of confidence if you might have a great squad, but you're bringing new kids in, but in that process you lose a couple of games, and these sorts of challenges that all the top coaches have to do. Because I get your point that the Six Nations is a great tournament, but there is only one thing that can define you as a great team in the game of rugby union, and that's winning a World Cup. You can be a magnificent Six Nations team. You can have a couple of awesome autumn series. You can even become number 1 team in the world. But time and legacy only stand that test by lifting William Webb Ellis. And until you do that, until Ireland get there, until France go there. They can be the best team never to have won the World Cup. You can go back to the days of Serge and those boys back in '87, how they seemingly feel they were robbed in the semi-final in 1995. They did the hard thing in '99. They beat New Zealand, then got battered by Australia. They made another final in 2011. They had New Zealand. The team choked, the country choked, and they got home 9-8 with Stephen Donald brought back from a fishing trip in a top that was too tight for him.
Yeah.
Kicking 3 points. So France, again, an incredible team, but they haven't gone there. So I think, whilst I understand how special this tournament is, I think a lot of it, if you could talk to the coaches, they will be saying, yes, we want to win the Six Nations, but it's now an Olympic cycle. It's now part of arriving in Australia in 2027 in the best possible position with the greatest depth of squad, with a huge amount of confidence to try and win on Southern Hemisphere soil.
Right, let's get into the teams. We are going to
Yeah.
start with England, and I'm going to take you back, Greens.
Let's start with some headlines on this. So before we go into the teams, I've written a couple of. I had notes from 2025.
But can I ask the question?
We're going to go into the teams in a sec, but just as a headline, 2025, I went into it saying Scotland were lethal, Wales were brave, England was searching, Italy have a go, France were all caught, Ireland were at a crossroad. Sort of played all right. France were all caught and won the tournament. This year, my headlines have come up with Scotland, if not now, then when? Wales, can they show the public anything that they can get behind? Ireland are vulnerable and injured. How good is Andy Farrell and how do they react? Italy, can they stick their noses above the parapet and they have one game in mind? England at home, the only country they haven't beaten. France, two names, Dupont and Movaca. They're back. They are hot shot favourites to win this thing. And England, are they as good as we hope?
Love it. Okay, well, let's get into England. I'm going to take you back to pretty much this time last year where you and I had just watched England being beaten by Ireland. We came back, we got those bonus points, which, by the way, were huge at the time. We picked up on that at the time, and it proved to be huge in terms of finishing second. And then we had the Calcutta Cup game in which I think that in all the games I've watched England play recently, that was as depressed as I left, even though we won by a point, just boxed it all day long. And I have to say that I and a lot of England fans felt pretty depressed, and I know you felt the same way as well. And since that moment, we've won 11 on the bounce, and we suddenly think that we are capable of becoming world champions. And I think that it's a pretty remarkable year that we've had from there to get to where we are now. And as a man that knows a bit more about rugby than me, my question is, how? How have we actually done that? What combination has created that?
You understand the vulnerability of top sport because damn has seen moments. Unsure, like the Tottenham Spurs are trying to get rid of Frank at the moment. I'm unsure how far the England fans would have gone, but England losing to Scotland last year could have been at a time when Bill Sweeney and the RFU were under a lot of pressure. So the game was suffering, England was suffering. Finn Russell missing a couple of kicks is a huge, huge turning point for England in that it just gave them and the fans a little bit of confidence. They got over the line in a tight one. They'd kept losing tight ones. They did the same against France. I think, did Elliot Daly sneak over? France got the defensive system wrong. Biabiri stayed too wide on a play that England ran all the time with Finn Smith out of back. They sneaked in. And momentum and what that does to you as a squad, you find yourself in the change room, same 15 blokes. If you lose, you're wondering if you trust him. You're wondering if he'll go missing. Papers over all the cracks. You win it, you go, oh, this geezer's got my back. Oh, he's going to cover me on the inside. That starts to grow. I thought the outlook as the team changed in terms of ponderous box kick to box kick to box kick. They started to be aggressive more in the middle third. They looked for space rather than just play a system. And the depth started to grow as the noise quietened down off the field, as the club started to do much better in Europe. So there's so many different things added towards it. They had a nice opportunity in Argentina. Contabomi put all his eggs in one basket for the Lions game, won that. then wanted to do well in the championship, in the rugby championship. So didn't necessarily go strongest outfit there. And again, it just gave England the momentum. Brilliant win. I think a Van Portfleet late try in the second test to win both. And players like Seb Atkinson came through. Henry Slade got back into the mix. Some of the youngsters like Apoku Fajour started to go. Don't forget about me whilst you're thinking about Will Stewart and Ellis Genge and the tight heads and loose heads and the props you think there. So like all things happen, you go back to successful teams, you're never quite sure what it is that changes, but something has to change. And sometimes nicking a game that you probably didn't deserve to win might be the straw that just starts to take you there. I don't know if I've answered the question. It's so difficult to say what changed it because the world has gone binary. You're either red or blue. You're either on the left of politics or on the right of politics. Actually, there's so much more to rugby and there's so much more to a team doing well and doing badly and in the nuance. But I think if I were to go on one headline, there's nothing like winning a tight game that gets you back in the changing room and feeling full of confidence and belief that you can then bounce into the next game with.
The word that I've heard Steve Borthwick using a lot recently is consistency around his, I suppose, his decision-making around selection, but probably just in terms of the environment as well. And we were wondering what was going on with it was a revolving door for a while with coaching staff, but Lee Blackett's come in and things seem to have settled down a little bit. That makes a big difference?
Yeah, Lee Blackett's doing really well. He's obviously a fabulous coach. He went at Wasps, gone well at Bath, got the opportunity in the summer, brought him in, changing coaches. The Kiwis always used to do it. The attack coach would become the defence coach. The defence coach would go and do the backs. They were the first sort of side that were comfortable. You think about Jack Nienaber, who sort of coached South Africa to the last World Cup. He was Razzie's physio. They were roommates when they were doing military service. And they got on, they talked about rugby. He was a strength and conditioning guy. He went with him to the Cheetahs. They started doing some strength and conditioning. They started looking at defence. And from there, so coaches who are comfortable moving people around and giving them different opportunities. Byron McGuigan had a great tour with England when he was seconded from Sale, and now I think he's full-time or moving into a full-time role. The door seems to have stopped revolving. He seems to have settled. That's another thing that happens. If you can get a consistency of selection and you're hearing the same messages from coaches off the field time and time again, there's no great wizardry and rocket science to coaching. It's just, are you a consistent message? Are you removing the highs and the lows? And are you allowing players to feel comfortable with time and what you're trying to coach?
Yeah. Right, we are going to come back to England-Wales and that preview because the England team has been released today. So we're going to come back to that a little bit later. But what I would like from you now is most valuable player as you see it in the England squad for this tournament.
Yeah.
And then also someone for everyone here to keep an eye on over the course of this.
Yeah,
Six Nations.
by starting with England, I'm coming up with an answer that actually I won't come up with for everyone else. No one is indispensable in this England team. I think that's the position they're in. You look, Maro Itoje has obviously had some time away from camp with family and has come back in and therefore is on the bench, and they bring in Coles and Chesham's a lion. I look through the England squad and think you could take anyone out of that team and drop anyone in, and they don't skip a beat. That doesn't mean they're suddenly a world-beating team. Now, when you get to the other ones, I think there are players where countries can't afford to lose. I think England's strength is, at the moment, you don't want to lose any player, but if they did lose any player, they're ready to go in. The one to watch, extraordinary for me to pick a tight head prop. I think Joe Hayes is very rarely mentioned in dispatches, and I've watched him now for a year, both at club and country, and he's unbelievable. He's absolutely unbelievable. And the worry was, of course, Will Stewart and other injuries in the front row. Joe Hayes right now, his tackle count, his ball carrying, is brilliant. He's got schooled by Dan Coles at Leicester, and he's come through that Leicester Academy, and all they want to do there is scrum and maul. He's been with Borthwick for a long time. When Borthers was at Leicester, and he's then started picking him for England. Yeah, we all want to talk about Tommy Freeman moving in the centre and scoring 10 tries, and Feo Boso on fantasy. Do you pick him as your captain because he could score 4 against Wales, or you hope he could score 4 against Wales? So what's he doing in the midfield? Why Dingwall in, fly half? Wow, you could pick any one of the 3. And I go to the tight head and go, you don't often watch tight heads, but watch his work rate, effort, impacts. He is starting to be discussed now as a World 15 player, which is testament to his growth. And then I think on the English side, you now look at the no one's indispensable. You think they could throw 5 Lions on off the bench. They could get to 60 minutes, 50 minutes, and they could throw Itoje, Curry, Smith, Pollock, and Luke Cowan-Dickie on.
Yeah.
And Wales might think they're in a game. They might be playing really well, and it might be 15 all. They might be getting to the time when test matches are decided, and these 5 numbers come up, and you go, wow, this is where England are at now.
Yeah, so it's not sort of cheap media chat, is it, in terms of that South African bomb squad and England having something that's as good?
Yeah, I think Marcus Smith, everyone will want to go Pollock and their fantasy league team for super sub. I think when England goes 6-2 and you've got Marcus Smith on the bench and he's covering everyone from 10 to 15 and he's triple points, he can come on and kick and score. I think if you're doing fantasy rugby and the unfortunate levels of injury you can get at test matches, the likelihood of Smith playing 50, 60 minutes and getting triple points is why he's my super sub in fantasy rugby.
Love it. Okay, we are going to move away from England and our next team is France. And I think it's fair to say that they are the most talked about squad pre-Six Nations, just in terms of some of the omissions. And so let's start there because I'd love your take on Pinot out the squad. I mean, for me, I think the biggest omission is Aldrit, who I think is a proper test match animal. And I was very, very surprised that he was omitted. But what's your take on the French squad?
But it's 18 months out from the World Cup. And I know Gregory's, I think he might be 28, 29. La Rochelle's form hasn't been as strong. He's suffered with some injuries. They've got an embarrassment of riches in the back row. And it ties into, you sort of wonder if it was a World Cup now, there's half a chance Aldrit would be in the French squad. With a World Cup in 18 months, that's it. Pinot, it's a really interesting one. I think what he does without the ball has hurt him. And again, you think about Atisogbe coming in, and they've got BLBRE, they've got some proper flyers, but I was most surprised about Pinot because he's so special. Yeah, I was. Fiku, I get. Fiku's more of what a warrior, what a player he's been, but again, he's sort of the wrong side of 30, and they've got players like Moefana and Deporter coming through, and the kid from, I think, Gorge from Toulouse is the next wonder kid at 20. So I can understand the Fiku one. I can understand the Aldrit one. I was surprised by Pinot. But Gaultier's been pretty ruthless over the time. He won the tournament last year. They're odds on to win this tournament. You look at their fixtures, and it's Scotland's their challenge on the 7th of March. But it's hard to see them not turning up in Paris on the 14th of March playing for a Grand Slam.
Yeah. Let's talk about the king. Let's talk about Dupont because he's back. How important is he? And actually, I mean, I just love the bloke. Maybe it's because he's tiny, but I love him. And how important is he to the tournament as a whole, having that superstar there?
I'm less bothered about the tournament. I think you get some horrible injuries in your career. We've all had them. ACL is a horrible one. You can have all sorts of stuff, but ACL, he did it against Ireland. When you feel the pain, you watch the pain, you see it happen, you've got to get over that sort of fear of going into the next step, going into the next contact and being strong in the tackle. Being tackled, he's got such good leg drive, and he used to fight his way out of tackles. Will he still have that confidence to fight his way out of tackles? He's been off the charts since he's been good. I saw some ridiculous headlines. He didn't play that well against Saracens. I mean, it was a swimming pool that day. It was whatever storm it was happening that day. No one could look good on a day like that. And what he does to that French team, I think the the rare reference I try to do on going back is you look around and you got Wilkinson at 10. Those are the sorts of things where, no matter what it does for us is amazing. What it does to the opponents is as damaging. He has that, but it's difficult to put Mo Vaca in the same category. But when they went to the top, Mo Vaca, what a hooker. What a hooker. His unbelievable mobility, tackling, jackling, his darts at top is just... I rate him above Sheehan at full tilt. I do rate him above Sheehan. Sheehan's a worldie, but Mo Vaca, for me, last couple of years, top hooker in the world. So to have both of them coming back, because I know Mo Vaca, he missed a autumn series. They're still the ones to beat. Who don't they want to lose? No one wants to see Dupont go. You see how it sucked the life out of them when he wasn't playing, and certainly in the autumn they missed him horribly. The one to watch, it's one of two. You're going to want to. Woki, if he gets picked, he's moved. He had a terrible time at Racing, and he's gone down to Bordeaux Begler, and he's
an athlete,
incredible athlete. And if he doesn't get in there, then the kid Oscar Jagu, who's their version of Pollock. He's the youngster who runs around. He can play centre, he can play wing, he can play back row. So he's another potential super sub. If he doesn't start for France, he'll come on and make 1,000,000 meters and score tries.
Great. France done. Ireland are up next. Now, I've listened to a few of the Irish pods in researching for this preview, and I can't quite believe how negative the Irish press are around this Irish team and their chances for the Six Nations. And my simple question to you is, are the press and the general Irish public right to be all doom and gloom and we're going to have a tough Six Nations?
Well, they got to number one in the world. They won a tour in New Zealand, coming back from 1-0 down. They won in South Africa. They won championships. And then they've stuttered a little bit. Andy Farrell was obviously Lions coach. They had some injuries last year. They haven't quite hit that form again. They go into this tournament, no Porter, no Keenan, no Hansen, no Henshaw, to name sort of 3 or 4 Lions and players who were considered as the best in the world at their peak. They've got a prop issue, which means a kid called Billy Bowen might start in Paris on Thursday as a 20-year-old from Connacht with no caps. And the Stade de France is one of the most intimidating places ever. Stade de France, it's all personal for me. It was as intimidating as Eden Park. You get 90,000 people in there and they start banging out the Marseillaise. That's a heck of a place to be nervous or apprehensive or not feel like you're ready. So the counter argument to that is you look at who they can pick. Doris is back. He's gutted to have missed the Lions door. Points to prove. Faz has a 77% win ratio. He's by far the best win ratio of all the coaches at Tier 1. He can make a silk purse out of a pig's ear. He'll get him playing. You've still got players like Byrne, Van der Fleer, Doris, Conan, McCarthy in the second row, Furlong's fit, Sheehan, Jameson, Gibson, Park, Ringrose. You're like, crikey, how are they having a pop at them? I just think when you've peaked, or not peaked, when you've been to number one in the world and you're then not number one in the world, people start throwing darts at you. And it's how you react to that. And they're cornered a little bit and wow, they've got to go to Paris on opening night. The reality is, going to Paris on opening night is probably the best night to go to Paris. Before they've settled, when players are coming back in, when the expectation around Dupont to be a magic man, to play the all-court game that they could get sucked into. So whilst I don't see them winning there, Ireland have got it tough because they'll go back to the nuance. In even years, that they have to go away to England and away to France, which makes this championship tough for them.
Yeah. Let's just have a couple of moments on Faz. You mentioned him there, but obviously come back from the Lions. I would argue with character enhanced, if that was even possible. But it feels like this is sort of maketh the man stuff for this Six Nations tournament for him and Ireland because of all the things that you've just brought up. He kind of, in some ways, has got his back against the wall, and there is a bit of negativity in Ireland around the chances. And if he can do something special this tournament, wow, what does that do to him?
Yeah, he stays away from that muck.
Yeah.
I remember I first trained with him in '93 on a back pitch at Orrell, and I was coming back from a shoulder injury, and I went down and trained with Wigan, and just watched him operate. And there's some hellish players, Cassidy and Dean Bell and Dennis Betts, proper, and he's just always, for him, the sun will come up tomorrow no matter what happens, and he'll do his best. He'll give everything. And he'll make sure his team are tough to beat. And if they're great, he's not going to start showboating. And if they lose, he's not going to start letting it get to him too much. Hugely impressive human being. And what a character to have when in that camp, when everyone is writing you off. There's no one better to have around than Faz, just to fill you with some self-belief. Remind you why you're good enough to be there, why you're a heck of a player, why you're a test match animal, and a good coaching team around him that have won everywhere in the world. So, yeah, he's clearly wanted to get past a quarterfinal in a World Cup. I think that's all goals are set in Australia. They've got a decent draw come through. So they've got every chance, and I think this tournament might be the time forced on him to look at players that he might not have had the chance to look at.
Who does he pick at 10? And do you feel that it's time for him to almost lump on there, like, you're my man?
Yeah, I think Prendergast
You do?
will start. I do think Prendergast will start. I think the person they don't want to lose is Dan Sheehan. And the one to watch, although he occasionally gets yellow cards for doing daft things, the one to watch is a kid called Tommy O'Brien on the wing. Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
So he makes yards from nothing. He has a very funny running style. Sort of very powerful winger. Clearly done a lot of bench and squats and an athlete. But quietly, I look at him. For the first time I looked at him, I thought he looks a bit clumsy. And then he scores 2 and makes 400 metres in a game. So if he gets the chance to start, they've got all sorts of. McCloskey probably starts in the centre with Ringrose. Who do they go at fullback? Is it Stockdale or is it Crawley? They've got some decisions to make in the back 5, the 11 to 15. Well, back 6, 10 to 15, because of the Prendergast decision as well. But
Tommy O'Brien reminds me of Simon Gagan. Do you remember him?
Yeah, Bambi on Ice.
Yeah.
Is how Bill McLaren talks about him. Right? Bambi on Ice, yeah.
Right, great. That's Ireland done. We will move on to Scotland.
Yeah.
You said it at the start of the pod. If not now, when, Greens?
14-1. Had a small wager on them. The fixtures look good. Go away. Beat Italy in Rome. Not easy. Get them done. Take on England in the Calcutta Cup.
At home.
At home. They've got France at home. They'll be confident to go to Wales and win. They will feel, if they don't turn up in Dublin on the 14th of March with a chance of winning the championship, it'll be a huge disappointment for them. Their team now and who they can pick. Have they got the best backline in the tournament? Well, they're going to leave out Dwan van der Merwe. They're going to leave out Dwan van der Merwe. They're Ben White or Dobie at 9, Russell at 10, Tuipulotu and Jones 12, 13. Tuipulotu didn't play in the Six Nations last year. Jones was missing in the autumn. They go Darcy, Graham, and Kyle staying on one wing, and they've got probably the best fullback if you take kicking out of it, as in goal kicking, because of Ramos, best fullback in the tournament.
Yep.
Their issue has been, I think, over the last 18 months, Greg has never quite been able to pick them all. And he can pick them all. Now, sets him up for going in this tournament the best chance they've ever had. They've never finished higher than third. They cannot afford to lose Xander Fagerson. They missed him in the autumn. They were miles clear against Argentina. They came back against New Zealand and couldn't quite close it out. Without him, again, he's another who's just missed out on the. Did he miss out on the lines? Did he pick up an injury and not go? He didn't go, did he? Because he was injured.
Yeah.
He's such a good player. His brother plays in the back row. And then the one to watch for me is Jamie Doby. If he goes a 6-2 split, he's a 9 who plays as comfortable on the wing. And yeah, I think another one and the sort of fantasy a cheap buy as a super sub and could cause damage.
So look, I think for everyone here, I'm with Greens there. I think 14-1 on Scotland for this tournament, I think is absolutely extraordinary. I can't think that they've got something wrong there because, but it's their history. It's their history.
Never finished higher than third.
Of course,
suggests we're mugs for putting 5.
But yeah, it's their history though, isn't it? But you're right. I think Scotland are dark horses, no doubt. So let's go on to perhaps the most improved team or do you want to do Wales next? Wales or
no? Go.
Let's go Italy. So we're going to go with Italy, who I think it's fair to say are probably the most improved outfit over the last 2 or 3 years.
Their issue this year is the fixture list.
Yeah,
they go away to Ireland and France, and they have England at home, and England is still the one team in the 26 years. This is the 26th year. In the 26 years they've competed. They're the one team they haven't beat. So winning in Ireland, winning in France, tough. Beating England at home. So you sort of feel maybe they played 3, lost 3 before they started. Yeah. However, they turned over Australia. Again, in the autumn, they're not here to make up numbers. They've got a midfield that Tuipulotu, Jones, tough to Menoncello and Breck. So they're the best 12-13 combo. They're certainly as comfortable as anyone, taking anyone on in any pitch. They're missing a couple. Negri and Capuozzo are missing, and they're 2 of their star players up front, but they've got a hell of a pack if you're Fischetti at loose head and Ferrari on the tight head. The Canoni brothers are awesome to watch, and the one for me to watch actually is the kid who's at Exeter Chiefs, Andrea Zambonin. Look, they're always my second favourite team. I go back to living there for 6 years. We're always desperate for them to pick off scalps, to silence the doubters about whether they should or shouldn't be in the Six Nations. I think at the moment that's moved away from them slightly. And they're a great side and they keep improving. The problem is you keep improving, but everyone keeps improving. And so they keep playing catch up. But I think the way their teams are doing in the URC, the depth of squad they now have, they used to be so vulnerable to 2 or 3 of their best players missing, and less so now. And Casada's a great coach, and he's a great pub quiz question.
Oh yes, go on, remind me. We've done this on the pod before, but do it again, once again.
Leading point scorer in the 1999 World Cup.
Amazing.
In a team that didn't get past the quarterfinal, Gonzalo Casadas. He's the.
Right. Italy done. We move on to Wales, which is going to link us to a little preview of the England-Wales game. But let's get into Wales first. You said it again in terms of your headline. What do they have to do to give the Welsh rugby public some kind of hope, I suppose? Yeah,
I was looking. I mean, the headlines are, of course, that they can't. Went 2 years or close to 2 years, and they finally beat Japan. Just they've had some blowouts. England won there by 60 last year. I went down. I can't remember which was it. Last autumn, I went down with a couple of my lads and watched 60 minutes. I left. I thought this is horrible to watch.
That was against New Zealand, wasn't it?
In Australia.
Australia.
The year before I went down there. Terrible time. off the field, the political argument about how many clubs can they run, can they manage. Looks like they're going from 4 to 3. I'd have gone from 4 to 2. I'd have gone make it East v West. Combine the Scarlets and the Ospreys. It's easy for me to say back from here, bring the Cardiff together with the Dragons. I don't think there was the fight or the stomach for the powers that be to be that drastic. They're going to go 4 to 3. Do you want any of the detail? Y11, a sports group, they own Ospreys. They're financiers. They're looking to make money in the game of rugby. That's why they're there. They own a little bit of the Cheetahs. Cardiff go bust. They see the commercial value of Cardiff higher than Ospreys, so they buy Cardiff and therefore then look to get rid of Ospreys. The Dragons quietly ticking away in the background, probably the most financially viable team in the tournament. The WRU sold it for £1 in 2022. But I'm not checking my URC, but they tend to be down the bottom end of performing sides. So all this is taking place. Then the bleed black, Shane Williams and all the old players and Alan Wynne-Jones come out and say, you can't get rid of the Ospreys. If you get rid of the Ospreys, I'm out. So that's the civil war, the lack of platform, the lack of clarity about how they're going to move forward is going on in the background. Do they then start losing a load of players? Jack Morgan and Dowie Lake are off to Gloucester. It's hemorrhaging at the moment. And for me, the plaster they should have ripped off was go 4-2, 4 teams into 2. The infighting now, because the turkeys don't vote for Christmas and they wanted change. They knew, I think the view would always be, yeah, we want change. We need change to survive, but just don't change us. Change someone else. And then when that happens, it's very difficult to find a coherent structure for what is going to happen. So terribly tough time for Wales. I say that gutted because of the quality of Welsh rugby historically. If they went down to 2, you could start to bring some of the old club rivalries back in their Premiership. You bring back some of the great teams like Bridgend, Ponty, all these massive fixtures, Neath, down at the Knoll. Again, I might be yearning back. I'm just making sure I'm not trying to pour petrol on the fire and be an Englishman saying you should do this. But my view has always been like Scotland have gone to 2 teams. The playing base, the size down there, the rivalries, the ability to then reignite the Premiership side with those Bridgends, the Neaths, the Swanseas, then have 2 elite teams which they could fund better. They could maintain their players in the country. They could keep them together. You sort of feel that, certainly for the moment, that boat has sailed. And in the meantime, on the field, they're struggling desperately to find a team. But Steve Tandy's first Six Nations in charge, are looking through, I was looking through the squad, the team they could pick. And you think about players like Nicky Smith, Dowie Lake, Aaron Wainwright, Daffy Jenkins, Thomas Williams, Louis Rees-Zammit is back, Blair Murray's their version or the newer version of Shane Williams. They got players. They're just totally devoid of any self-belief and confidence, and that's the biggest challenge for Wales. In a strange way, their most helpful thing might be to go to England and have a free hit. Everyone's expecting 50 points. Go have a free hit. England have made some changes in the midfield. They might look in terms of feeling themselves. They're not strong off the bench in the front row area. So they might feel there's a couple of opportunities to get at England, and then from there have a fight, have a dig at Twickenham, build on something there. If not a win, a good performance, and then try and identify clearly they've got to beat Italy on the final Saturday of the Six Nations. But they'll identify the Scotland game at home, the Italy game at home, and that they've got 3 games at home. And you name some of those players, and you think, maybe, just maybe, they could nick a couple of wins and start to find some confidence and some cohesive rugby, because it's not been a great watch for Welsh fans, obviously, but also for all rugby fans over the past couple of years.
And I mean, I hear what you said around just look, it's a free hit against England. But how psychologically do they deal with shipping 60 points at home to England in the last fixture of the Six Nations? Because I mean, I don't know. I look at that and I'm like, what am I saying to them?
Yeah, I get it. Whether they look back, they look at great historic wins. They've won 3 Grand Slams to 1 against England over the last 15 years, 20 years. Yeah. They've won the championship more recently than England. You know, England have gone 4-4-2 under Steve. Finished fourth, finished second. There's a lot of lads who've had success. They've done well with the Lions. So they're not mugs. And from that, you got to go and try and make it scrappy in the first 20, stay in it till 40, see what happens. Most fans will be opening for the TMO to get involved in England to get a high tackle and go down at 14, which has happened before. Here comes the pizza. And yeah, 2026 about the year being positive for everyone, not ruinous, empathetically ruinous, as in don't ignore the facts, but I don't think they'll get beat by 60.
Okay,
Twickenham.
Good. So
does that make an improvement?
Yeah, it does. Now listen, let's get into that because we're only.
Who do they not want to miss? They don't want to lose Thomas Williams.
No,
and their player to watch as he's filling out. They picked him as a kid. They made him captain as a kid. The Exeter captain, Daffy Jenkins, starting to fill out, and I think he would expect. I know there's another 3 years to go. I think he's a lion in the making in 3 years. So yeah, I do, and they'll see Noe Itoje starting. I know Itoje is the best defensive mauler, the best line-out defensive player out there. And so they'll say, do you know what, that can guarantee us 90% line-out until Itoje comes on. We might get some joy out of the maul till he comes on. And that's obviously Cole's and Chesson's challenge to try and be as good in that part of the game as Maro's. So, yeah, we're going Saturday. No, I know it sounds strange. No one wants a blowout. Blowout doesn't help anyone. Doesn't help England.
And you genuinely don't think it will be?
Well, what's a blowout? I think England win by 40 points.
Right, okay.
But it's not a blowout to me, 60, 70, the way Wales are going at the moment.
Okay. Right, there we go. So that's Wales. That brings us to the end of our team section. I'm going to swing back now to the tournament as a whole, and I'm going to look for a table prediction. We always do that. We always look at that. 3 teams obviously ended up with 4 victories last year.
Yeah.
First question before we actually get into that table and your predictions around it. Do we think a Grand Slam is going to happen in 2026?
If anyone's going to do it, I think it's France. I think England having to go to Scotland and Paris. Look, we've won 11 on the trot. My friends, the bookmaking community don't tend to want to give money away. And there's value obviously in backing England for that. I think hellishly difficult. I think all roads lead to France. The reason being, I think they beat Ireland at home with a bonus point. I think they go away to Wales and win with a bonus point. I think they beat Italy with a bonus point. So after 3 games, they got 15 points in the bag. Tough game against Scotland. So let's say they do lose 1 there, but they nick a bonus point, 16. I just think you go numbers, maths. You know, I love my maths. Probable results, of course, things are there to be upset. Probable results here suggest it's a France championship, but England would hopefully go to Paris with a chance to upset the apple cart. I'm not sitting on the fence. France to win it, but England will turn up with a chance to nick it.
Okay, so am I taking it that your table consists of France,
England, Scotland.
France, England, Scotland.
Scotland in the mix.
Okay.
And they're the wild card at 14-1 because I think they can turn us over in Murrayfield.
Yeah, agreed.
Then they could.
Just a little question on that.
Look, when it comes to crunch and I see that England team and England beat Wales, who do I think will win? I whisper England, but I think that's the one that can derail England's chances of going of getting Steve's men to the top for the first time in a long time. Since 2020, I think the last time we won the championship.
And I know we slightly differ on this opinion, but for me, and I bow to Green's experience here, but for me, the psychology around top end sport is huge. And Scotland last year at Twickenham will be absolutely spitting feathers that they lost that game. And they hate the English. And going to Murrayfield, and that, I think the psychology.
Strange word. I think the fans don't like each other. I think the players don't. I don't think the players turn up and think I hate Finn Russell. I don't think George Ford is on a field going, "Oh,
no, I don't.
I don't think Ellis Genge hates Xander Fates.
No, I don't think. I don't think we do. I think they hate us.
So let's not use the word hate them.
All right, fair enough.
There's no need to use the word.
But there we go. There's a discrepancy. You downplay that psychology much more. You see, I think that is big. I think that they were so gutted at Twickenham. That was a game they should have won.
But they're looking at themselves rather than what England did. Most professional athletes don't look back on their career and go, "Oh, he took it away from me. She beat me." Most professional athletes look back on their career and go, "I got that wrong. I wished I'd played better that day." And Scotland will look at that and they'll use that as motivation more than it's England and it's the Calcutta Cup and we're walking out. Those days of that psychology, that home and away when things were amateur, when an emotional, physical, feral force could overcome the other, the regularity with which they play these top-end games now.
Yeah.
That side is what they've spent so long trying to get rid of, to try and find that consistency of performance, whether they're at Eden Park, whether it's a Calcutta Cup game, whether it's a Grand Slam decider.
We'll revisit this up in Murrayfield.
Yeah.
And we'll see where we are.
The
We'll
fans,
see where we are.
The bus trip into Edinburgh was as bad as I've ever seen. Oh, horrible things being said and done. And Cardiff the same. It's if you're in an England bus, the fans, I totally get you. The fans despise you properly. This is the one team. And some pretty nasty things take place as a player. And going out in Cardiff after playing for England, I'm not making that mistake again. My missus ain't going out in Cardiff again. Mate, yeah, not good.
Yeah.
Not good, but that's fan v player. Player v player.
Different.
That doesn't exist.
Okay, fair enough. Well, look, let's get into some questions from our mates, our mates here in the audience. So we've got the mic. Has anyone got any questions for the lanky man here? There we go. First one up.
Well, 2003.
What happened?
We had a pretty settled team that had played together for a couple of years, won a Grand Slam, etc. Is this Six Nations a time to try and get a more settled team that can perhaps play 10 or 12 matches together before the World Cup? Or has rugby changed that much that we don't need to?
Great question. I actually looked earlier on at Steve Borthwick's first squad, first game, Six Nations in 2023. And I went into it thinking I'm going to see a load of names I don't recognise. Why have England got better? Oh, we've found new players. Huge number of players he's still picking. So the consistency, thanks, Bruni. Huge number of players still there. Consistency is everything, but fear of being dropped, competition for places, I think is the one. And if you, as you mentioned, 03, we were together last week. We were together last week as a group. And Martin, I mean, you'd think this is a ridiculous thing to say, but he was going into the training camp in the summer before the World Cup, going, if I don't play well, I'm out here. That's Martin Johnson. Because there was, I mean, Simon Shaw, one of the all-time great rugby players. We all remember him in the Lions in 2009. What a player. Didn't even go to the World Cup. Came late as a replacement when Danny Grewcock broke his toe. Danny Grucock was carving up trees. Martin Corrie was being picked in the second row as that sort of hybrid way before the hybrids existed. Benny Kay was coming on the scene. He'd go on to play in 2 World Cups, win 2 European Cups, play in 2 World Cup finals. Jono was threatened. So why I like this England team is I don't necessarily need to think that you pick the same team every week, but now the competition for places and keeping people on edge and not being afraid to change a winning team. So beat Wales, great, and then change 2 or 3. Ideally, we win the second game up in Murrayfield and change 2 or 3. And having that fear on edge meant that you never settle for anything less than your best. And again, we've sort of gone down memory lane here. The quarter-final in the World Cup, he picks me and Tyndall and Cat's on the bench. The semi-final, he drops Tyndall, brings Cat in. We win. The final, he drops Cat and brings Tyndall back in. The back 3 change in all the games. The good coaches, you get to a stage where the interchangeability and you get a 45-man squad down in the 30. What I like about England at the moment is, I go back to one of the previous answers, that no one here, England's performance doesn't drop if we lose any one individual. I don't think that. The strength in depth, 1, 2, 3 in each position is super strong. Have I answered the question?
Yeah, I think so. You were throwing the ball to the right, that somebody would be there. Do they know that now?
Yeah, that trust is coming with 11 on the spin. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean they stand in the change room thinking we're going to win today. But they stand in the change room going, the opposition need to be word perfect to beat us today. And once you find yourself in that position, you might lose 1. You don't lose 2 on the spin and you get back on the horse and you go again. And that's why England are in a good position at the moment. But we go back to the original question about why you love the Six Nations. England in a good position. If it was home and away on this championship, I have no doubt England win this championship. If it's home and away and you understand, if it's not home and away and we go to 2 places where it could be really difficult to win, France don't go to as many places where it could be difficult to win. Therefore, I end up coming down on France. I think England currently are a better team than France, but playing in Paris skews everything.
Any other questions?
That's why Maidenhead are second bottom in the league. Because we have Fortress Braithwaite, but we can't win away, lads. We haven't won away since Caesar was around. Lead commentator, Maidenhead's YouTube sensation from the north, from Lancashire, Tommy Doherty.
Yeah, A-up Greens.
A-up.
So it's Tom from the Maidenhead commentary team. So if Sky are looking for another, then feel free to send me a message.
I can't understand him. What's the thing?
It says, if Sky are looking for another commentator.
So my question is, from the starting team of England, who's one player from each of the other 5 that would make the England starting set?
Oh, great question.
Great question.
France, Dupont or Movaca. Let me choose who might make the biggest difference. I think you got to go Dupont, but I'd go Movaca. From Ireland, Gibson Park. Again, we've taken Dupont, so there's no point bringing Dupont in and then removing him for Gibson Park.
Yeah, I'd have taken Movaca.
Ireland, maybe I love Hayeswood. Furlong, just sneak in. Would I love Byrne? Let's go with Furlong because of his track record. Scotland, you probably bring Hugh Jones in and move Freeman back to the wing. Who's left? Italy. Who would I like in the Italian team? You've asked the question, so we've got to pick one, right? I can't avoid the question. Italy, I'd bring in Fischetti. At loosehead. And who've I left out? Wales. I'm back on another scrum half. Lewis Rees-Zammit, Blair Murray, Daffyd. Do you know what? Daffyd Jenkins. that doesn't mean I think that he's way better than Coles or Chesham or Itoje, but I think if you brought Daffyd Jenkins in, the team wouldn't skip a beat. I think Daffyd's proper good. Proper good. Great question. Tom Doherty, possible new futures commentator for Sky.
Bravo. Any other questions, folks, for Greens, or should we wrap it up there? Go on then, Stephen.
But we spoke about England having strength and depth. Is that just why Ireland are struggling at the moment? Do they need more depth, or is there a bigger problem?
So, I mean, it's possibly a numbers game. We have 55 million people and they have 6. Yeah, and I think Ireland, the school system, and I think they centrally funded what they did off the field. They've done really well in Ireland in terms of managing their players. You know, it's never... We have a big argument over here about whether you should pick players who play abroad. It's never mentioned over there. If you want to play for Ireland, you play in Ireland. Big fan of that. If you want to go make some money abroad and do that, fine, go. But I'm a supporter, and people say, oh, you're so old and so tough. I love playing in your own country if you want to play for your country. I think, have they overachieved? No. I think what they did for 2 or 3 years was just extraordinary. I mean, extraordinary what Farrell managed to do. To go 1-0 down in a series in New Zealand and win. Like, British and Irish Lions teams don't do that. To go to South Africa and turn them over. To win the championship. To be so ruthless. What he did with them was so exceptional that I think there's a danger that you can think, well, that's the norm. I think they're a really good side. I'm trying to find the right answer. How do I find a bind? What answer do you want? How would you answer it?
Is it just cyclical and they'll build a team back and they'll be fine again?
Yeah, I think it's such a rugby in Ireland is just it's not quite a religion because the Gaelic Association and the sports they have over there with the Gaelic football and the hurling, they go, no, you've got the wrong sport. That's what's a religion for us. But I think through the school system, the development of their academies, how they feed into the provinces, they've managed to do it really well. You can go and watch St Michael's or Blackrock, and it feels like you're watching a mini Leinster. They're into the system. They're developing. They're being brought through. They're a great side to watch. And then you throw in the stardust that Farrell's brought with him, and they had the Schmidt before. They're a great side. The stone or the stick you can always beat them with is they have to get past the quarterfinal. And it looks like they'll have to play Argentina in 2027. And the one team, I don't know if you know your history of Irish rugby, the one team they don't want to play in a World Cup is Argentina. They're like Tottenham are to Man City. They are the bogey team that they just can't get past. So, I as I've got older, I view it from a more positive perspective of what they've managed to achieve with such a small playing base as being spectacular, as opposed to they're now not as good as they were. We should now berate them and say they've fallen off a cliff. And that's just perhaps my age and sentimentality.
Right. I think that draws things to a close. It's been a great evening. I hope everyone here is as excited as I am about the upcoming Six Nations. The format is going to remain very similar for us throughout the tournament. We are going to be trying to record podcasts on the Sunday of every weekend. Get this information into your ears on Monday. All of the rugby mates here are welcome back during the course of the tournament. Hope you've enjoyed it. I thoroughly have, Green.
Nice one, Campo. Yeah, thanks for coming along. We go back to the previous point, or the point we made at the start is we're on the phone the whole time when teams are announced. Yeah. What do you think? You've got different WhatsApp groups where that drops into, and this is just a sort of public platform for us, and we enjoy doing it, and we appreciate, even if we only start with 16 people. I never underestimate the power of a small group of committed people to changing the fucking world. In fact, it's the only thing that's ever changed the world. So here we are, not changing the world, but with a small group of committed rugby fans. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, mate. Well done, brother.